What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm doing my first official 2022 NASCAR Silly Season Predictions video. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into the prefaces. I'm doing all full-time drivers and also part-time teams for the 2022 season. So let's go ahead and start off with who will be driving the 00 car. The driver that I have driving the 00 car is not going to be Quin Houff next year. Remember, Quin Houff is going to be a free agent at the end of this year as he signed a 2-year contract with Starcom Racing in 2020, and he will be let go after not having really good tenure at Starcom Racing. He is going to be let go at the 2021 season, and the driver that is going to be replacing him is going to be Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole is currently a free agent right now. He's been doing he's been usually a guy that puts up a really good performances in underfunded equipment. We've seen what he's been able to do at On Points Motorsports in the Truck Series. We've all seen what he's been able to do even at Ricker Racing and Premium Motorsports last year. Was somewhat consistent with him as outperforming the equipment, and was pretty solid with Chip Ganassi Racing as well. I think that he's going to come here to help this organization get up and running, get this team a little bit better, and kind of get him back to where the Atlanta Castle brought him up, and help this team become more consistently a top 35 team than being a team that runs in the back every single week. Up next, we're going to talk about the driver of the 1 car. Now, there is going to be a change that is going to be taking place in the 1 car as well. Kurt Busch has said that there's been a 50-50 chance that he could end up retiring. Now, I actually do believe that Kurt Busch is going to retire at the end of this year. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Kurt Busch has said he wants to race the next-gen car. Remember, Kurt Busch said that at the end of 2019 when he signed a 2-year contract. Remember, he is a free agent at the end of this year. And he said that back in 2019 when they originally were planning on running the next-gen car this season. But with the next-gen car being delayed, I think that Kurt Busch is going to retire at the end of this year. So the driver that I have replacing him for the 2022 season is going to be Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson, of course, is currently racing in the Chevy programs in Junior Motorsports in the number 9 car, and he has been somewhat linked to a NASCAR Cup Series car for the upcoming years. He's also been potentially linked to a J.H.E. Dougherty car, and also maybe if Junior Motorsports jumps up to the Cup Series, he could go there. But I think that Noah Gragson is going to jump up to the 1 car and become a teammate to Ross Chastain next year. I think Noah Gragson is going to be taking over the 1 car next year. Up next, we're going to talk about the 2 car that is going to once again be driven in 2022 by Brad Keselowski. There have been potential rumors going on that Brad Keselowski could leave Team Penske here sooner or later because of the tension that's been building with him and Joey Legato. But I don't think there's going to be any changes because recently it's been reported in the last couple weeks after the Atlanta race that Brad Keselowski is currently in contract talks and contract extension talks with Team Penske, as really not a lot of rides are available at the moment right now. And I think that he is going to remain with Team Penske in the 2022 season. I think he's going to sign a 1 or 2-year deal. It really depends on how successful Austin is with driving the number 21 next year. It's really going to be a determination how long Brad Keselowski is going to stay. But I think he's going to sign a pretty long-term deal with Team Penske, and he is going to remain with Team Penske through at least the 2022 season. Up next, the driver who's going to be driving a 3 car next year in 2022 is going to be Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon is a grandson of Richard Childress. He's never going to be leaving Richard Childress Racing unless he wants to carve his own path like Ty Dillon's been able to do. But yeah, Austin Dillon, it's not confirmed if his contract's been extended or not at this time, but it's expected that Austin Dillon's going to return. Like I said, he's a grandson of Richard Childress. I do not expect any changes going forward for Austin Dillon in the 2022 season. Up next, driving a 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing next year, I expect it to be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has signed I think, a 2 or 3 year extension going through the 2023 season. So his last year, potentially in the Cup Series, could come in the 2023 season. But Kevin Harvick, he's kind of down here this year. Some people have been thinking maybe he could retire here at the end of this year, which I don't expect that, to be perfectly honest with you. But how good Kevin Harvick has been throughout his career, I think that he's going to go through his contract years, and I think that he will remain at least through the 2023 season. He'll be driving the 4 car next year. Up next, driving a 5 car, in my honest opinion, once again, is going to be Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson signed at least a 1 or 2 year contract with Hendrick Motorsports. They want to keep him long term, but sponsorship is going to be a big play to keep Kyle Larson in this 5 car long term. But I think that Kyle Larson is going to eventually pick up sponsors. He's going to figure it out as he continues to ride. He's been really successful so far this year. He's got 1 victory so far in the Cup Series where he picked up that win in Las Vegas. I expect Kyle Larson to return and have a shot at maybe winning a couple championships here down the road. Up next, we're going to talk about the 6 car with Roush Fenway Racing. Right now, that ride is currently re-sided with Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, like Kurt Busch, is another driver that is in a contract year. He signed a 3-year deal back in 2019, and his contract is believed to end at the end of the 2021 season. I believe that Ryan Newman is going to retire at the end of the 2021 season. Now, I don't think Ryan Newman is going to officially be out of NASCAR. I think he's going to go to part-time status. But I think Ryan Newman is going to retire from full-time racing. So, who is a driver that I think is going to end up driving the number 6 car in 2022? My driver that I have going over to the number 6 car is going to be Matt Benedetto. Look at Matt Benedetto. He's not going to be returning to the number 21 next year, as that is going to be taken over by Austin Cindric. I look at a team that Matt Benedetto's go for. Yes, he's been linked to Senhouse Racing. Yes, he's been linked to 2311. Yes, he's been linked to Chip Ganassi Racing. But I look at those rides. I think it's going to go to a Toyota driver for 2311. I think it's that Senhouse Racing is probably going to end up remaining sane, to be perfectly honest with you. And I also do think that Chip Ganassi, as I mentioned, is going to pick up Noah Gragson or go to any of their Chevy drivers. I think that Matt Benedetto is going to go to the 6 car. This team's been continuing to get better over the last year. I know 2020 was a down year for Roush Family Racing. But I think that in 2022, Matt Benedetto is going to go to this ride and continue to get better. He's gotten better as the year goes on. I think that Matt Benedetto is going to end up staying in the Ford camps, as there was a tweet that came out recently that he said he might be staying at Ford. I think that Matt Benedetto is going to end up at Roush Family Racing's number 6 car in 2022. Up next, we're going to talk about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports, and this is once again going to be driven by Corey LaJoie in 2022. Corey LaJoie signed a 2-year contract with Spire Motorsports for 2021 and 2022 in December of last year, and Corey LaJoie, of course, has been absolutely not had a great year so far for Spire Motorsports, but not the worst year I've seen for a race car driver. Corey LaJoie, I think, is a very, very talented driver. He can get the best out of equipment. I think as years go on, I think Corey LaJoie is going to improve, and I think he can eventually bring Spire Motorsports up to potentially a top 20 team here going forward as the years go on. Up next, who will be driving the 8 car in 2022 is going to be Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick is technically in a contract year in 2022, but I do not expect any changes for Tyler Reddick going into the 2022 season, especially with not a lot of rides that are going to be open up, as a lot of people are going to remain in the positions that they're going to be going to. I think Tyler Reddick is going to remain at Richard Childress Racing. He's been really good. I know in 2021 he's not been as impressive. He's had a couple good runs this year, but he hasn't been as impressive. That being said, I think Tyler Reddick is going to remain in the 8 car and keep driving the 8 car in 2022. Up next, driving the 9 car 2022 is going to be Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott's contract does only go through the 2022 season, so technically he is a free agent through the 2023 season. But I've been hearing behind the scenes that there might be a long-term contract that is going on behind the scenes to keep Chase Elliott racing there. Again, I don't know how long the deal is or sponsorship obligations that could be happening. That really is the reason why I think that Chase Elliott is not, at this moment, signed that long-term deal. But there potentially is a long-term deal coming for Chase Elliott. So, Chase Elliott, I do expect to get a long-term deal. He will be driving the number 9 car in the 2022 season. Up next, we're going to talk about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. Now, right now, the 10 car is currently driven by Eric Almirola, and the big reason why this car is potentially up and running is because of the fact that Eric Almirola is technically a free agent at the end of the 2021 season. Eric Almirola signed only a 1-year deal through the end of the 2021 season. One thing that's very important is that Smithfield kind of draws some of their sponsorship obligations to Eric Almirola from around 32 to 30 races to about 25 races, so he lost some of that sponsorship from Smithfield. But I expect that he is going to return to Stewart-Haas Racing. They really don't have anybody that's really in the underlying pipeline right now for Stewart-Haas Racing right now. Yes, you have Riley Herbst. Yes, you have guys like Haley Deegan and Tanner Gray that are potentially in your pipeline. Isidro has somewhat of an alliance. But I don't think those guys are really, and let me be honest with you, Riley Herbst really isn't that great of a driver. I think Eric Almirola is going to remain with the core lineup for Stewart-Haas Racing, and I think that he will drive the 10 car in 2022. Up next, driving the 11 car in 2022 is going to be Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was technically a free agent here in 2021, but a couple weeks before the season began, Denny Hamlin signed a multi-year extension. Now, it's not certain how long he signed this extension. It's believed it could have been 3 or 4 years for Denny Hamlin, so he's expected to at least have a couple more years for Joe Gibbs Racing going forward. There have been rumors that Denny Hamlin could leave Joe Gibbs Racing and drive for his own organization. We got confirmation that he's going to be staying with Joe Gibbs Racing and driving number 11. He will remain and drive the number 11 in the 2022 season. Up next, the driver that will be driving the number 12 car for Team Penske is going to be Ryan Blaney. There's no changes here for Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney signed, it is believed that he signed a multi-year extension. It is believed that he signed up to a 3-year extension, so his contract as of right now goes through the end of the 2023 season. Ryan Blaney is looking to get his second win of the year in 2021. He's trying to get his first multi-win of the year. Ryan Blaney's a very, very awesome driver. He's been really consistent so far in 2021, and I don't expect any changes going forward for at least the next couple of years with Ryan Blaney, as he'll return in 2022 to Team Penske. Up next, driving the number 14 car in 2022. There's not going to be any changes here. This is going to go to Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe, I think, is a very, very talented driver. I know his rookie year has not been going good. Again, with practice qualifying coming back next year, most likely for every single race. Chase Briscoe is going to get better. Chase Briscoe, of course, being rookie. His contract details are not known, but he's been coming up for the Ford development program pretty much since the beginning. Ford has had a lot of praise toward Chase Briscoe. So I expect no changes going forward here. Chase Briscoe will keep driving the 14 car throughout the 2022 season. Up next, driving a 15 car in the first of the Rickware Racing cars. Now, keep this in mind. Rickware Racing is going to lose 2 of their charters in the 2021 season, going to 2022, and they're going to have 2 charterless cars. They're going to have 4 cars in the field, but they're going to end up losing their charters, as NASCAR, in my opinion, I think is going to jump in and take away a couple of their charters. But the 15 car for 2022 is going to be driven by Joey Gase. Joey Gase, of course, has been driving for Rickware Racing. He's not running full-time as he switched over his points to the NASCAR Xfinity Series so he can run both races for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series as he's driving that really, really awesome 28 car this weekend. But Joey Gase is going to drive the 15 full-time next year. Joey Gase, of course, I think has some talent. He's not my favorite driver in the world. He's a nice guy, but he's had definitely some bright moments in Xfinity points. But Joey Gase, I think, is going to drive the 15 car and remain at Rickware Racing for the 2022 season. Up next, we're going to talk about the 16 car for Kaulig Racing. Now, Kaulig Racing currently in the Cup Series right now is running up to about 10 or 11 races as they're planning on running all the road courses in super speedways in 2021. But I think in 2022, they're going to acquire one of the charters from Rickware Racing, and I think that they're going to move up the Cup full-time in 2022. Now, who is the driver that they are going to pursue for the 2022 season? The driver is going to be Justin Haley. Justin Haley has been driving for Kaulig Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series since 2019. And Justin Haley, like I said, has been in the Chevy programs for a really long time. He's a guy that's been very, very good. He's won 3 races last year in the Xfinity Series. He's looking for his first win here in 2021. Justin Haley, of course, has not driven for Kaulig Racing in Cup Series, but he also was the first driver to drive for Kaulig Racing in 2020. I expect Justin Haley to be the full-time driver. Of course, I like Justin Haley a lot, and I think that he'll be driving a 16-car full-time as Kaulig Racing is going to jump up to the Cup Series full-time in 2022. Up next, jumping into the number 17 car 2022, there's going to be no changes here or there. It is going to be Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, of course, he joined Roush Racing back in 2020. He originally was a Roush development driver, but he went over to J.G. Dougherty, and he's been with Roush for the last couple of years. Chris Buescher is finally really coming out of his shell in 2021. He's been pretty solid to start this year. He's currently right now just outside the playoff cutoff, right behind Kurt Busch, right now 17th in the standings. Chris Buescher's had a pretty solid year so far. I don't expect any changes for Chris Buescher going to see him. I know he's technically a free agent as well at the end of this year, but Chris Buescher will remain in 17 car in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 18 car in 2021, there will be no changes here. This is going to go to Kyle Busch. Last couple years of Kyle Busch have not been really impressive. That being said, Kyle Busch is one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time, and his contract does go through the 2022 season, but I believe that Kyle Busch is going to get a long extension going forward, and I think Kyle Busch will keep driving his team for the rest of his career. Kyle Busch will drive the 18 car in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 19 car 2022 is going to be Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr., the week of the Daytona 500, he signed at least a 1-year deal with Joe Gibbs Racing going through the 2022 season. It was potentially believed that he signed a multi-year deal, but we found out, I think, that it's going to be a 1-year deal for him throughout the 2022 season. So Martin Truex Jr. will return to Joe Gibbs Racing. Of course, Martin Truex Jr. has been really good to start this year as he's been gelling with James Small. He will once again return to the number 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 2022 season. Up next, driving a 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing is going to be Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell technically has a 3-year deal with Joe Gibbs Racing, as this past year, he went from Levine Family Racing over to Joe Gibbs Racing for the 2021 season, and he's believed to be returning there in 2022 as well, as there is a 3-year Toyota deal. Originally, he was supposed to drive 2 years from Levine Family Racing, and then in 2021, this year, he was supposed to move over, in 2022, he was supposed to move over to Joe Gibbs Racing. But things changed when Levine Family Racing shut down. He'll be over here at Joe Gibbs Racing at least for the next couple years, as he's been a TRD driver for quite some time. I expect him to be returning to Joe Gibbs Racing and never leaving his 20 car for at least the long foreseeable future. Up next, driving a 21 car in 2022 is going to be Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric is going to be replacing Matt Benedetto. It was announced last October that he was going to be taking over the number 21 car from Matt Benedetto in the 2022 season. Austin Cindric, of course, the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, and looking to go back-to-back this year in the 2021 season. Austin Cindric is a very, very talented driver. He's done really well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and there's a lot of pressure toward him. He's ran a couple Cup Series races in 2021. He ran Atlanta, Richmond, and the Daytona 500 as well. He's expected he's going to run up to 6 or 7 races in all different configurations. Very true to see what other races he's going to run this year. But Austin Cindric is going to be jumping into the fan-famed Wood Brothers number 21, the legendary car, in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the number 22 car for Team Penske in 2022 is going to be Joey Logano. Joey Logano has a contract through the end of the 2023 season, and Joey Logano, of course, has been one of the most consistent drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series. I don't expect any changes for this one. Joey Logano will return to Team Penske. He's been really consistent. He's got 1 win so far in the 2021 season, and I think that he will continue this going forward for the next years. Joey Logano's contract goes through the 2023 season. Up next, driving the number 23 car once again in 2022 is expected to be Bubba Wallace. 2311 Racing was really built around Bubba Wallace. And with a team that is generally built around Bubba Wallace, he's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. That being said, I know the first year for 2311 has not overall been a fantastic year for the 2311 team, but I do think in the second year, they're going to take that next step forward as that team continues to get better. Practice qualifying coming back, they're going to be able to gel together. Bubba Wallace will return to the number 23 for 2311 Racing in the 2021-22 season, Up next, driving a 24 car in the 2022 season is going to be William Byron. William Byron has a contract throughout the 2022 season that he signed last year after winning at Daytona 2020. He signed a 2-year contract extension through the 2022 season. But with how much success that William Byron has had throughout his career so far and throughout the 2021 season, as he currently sits around 4th or 5th in the standings, I would not expect any changes going forward for William Byron the next couple years, as he's been in the Hendrick Development Program for the last couple years. I do not expect any changes going forward, and William Byron will return to Hendrick Motorsports' number 24 program in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the number 34 car in the 2022 season is going to be Michael Mcdowell. I don't expect any changes going forward for the number 34 car, as Michael Mcdowell won the 2021 Daytona 500. He's had the best season so far of his career. I don't expect any changes. I know he's not been officially signed for the 2022 season, but do you really think Front Row is going to get rid of him? No. Michael Mcdowell is going to remain with Front Row Motorsports, and he'll drive the number 34 car in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the number 38 car for Front Row Motorsports, in my honest opinion, who it's going to be, is going to be Anthony Alfredo. I expect Anthony Alfredo to return to his team in the 2022 season and get better. Yes, they've had multiple different changes of drivers throughout the last couple years, and that number 38 cars last year in 2020 was driven by John Newman. Now you have Anthony Alfredo in the car, and so far in 2021, it has not been an absolutely promising year. But I think that Anthony Alfredo in the 2022 season will get better, and he will come back to Front Row Motorsports in the 22 season and honestly get a lot better as a driver. Up next, driving a 41 car for Senhouse Racing in 2022 is going to be Cole Custer. It is potentially believed that Cole Custer's contract does go through the 2021 season, but I expect Cole Custer to be with this team throughout pretty much his whole entire career. As his father, Joe Custer, is the president of Senhouse Racing, there's going to be no changes. He's been in the SHR program since about 2013, 2014, even back in his ARCA East and ARCA West days. I expect Cole Custer to remain in his team throughout his whole entire career, and Cole Custer will drive the 41 car in 2022. Up next, driving the 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing is going to be Ross Chastain. Now, Ross Chastain, of course, has been basically Chip Ganassi Racing has liked Ross Chastain for a very, very long time, since around 2017 and the 2018 season. Now, it is believed that Ross Chastain's contract ends at the end of the 2021 season. And there might be some struggle one, as Ross Chastain right now in 2021 currently sits 24th in his hands, only one top 10 so far. That being said, though, I really believe in Ross Chastain. I think he's going to get better, and I think in 2022, he will continue to get better, improve, and he will come back stronger in the 22 season with him driving the number 42 car in that upcoming season. Up next, driving the number 43 car for Richard Petty Motorsports in 2022 is going to be Erik Jones. Erik Jones, remember at the end of last year, around October, he signed a 2-year contract extension with Richard Petty Motorsports, with Jerry Baxter being the crew chief with him for that specific season. Now, there is going to be a change with Richard Petty Motorsports, though, for the 2022 season. There have been rumors and rumblings that there is a lower-tier Chevy team that is going to switch over to Toyota in 2022. I think it's going to be Richard Petty Motorsports that's going to switch to Toyota in 2022, and Erik Jones is going to rejoin a manufacturer that started his career, and they are going to have an alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, and they are going to join the Toyota family of teams, and he will drive the number 43 once again for Richard Petty Motorsports in the 2022 season. Up next, we have a team extension that's going to take place, which is going to be the number 45 car for 23XI Racing. Now, they are going to acquire a charter from another organization, which that is going to be the other Rick Ware Racing charter that I talk about. As I said, they're going to drop the 2 charters. They're going to acquire the other charter, and they're going to expand to 2-car operation. As has been reported over the last couple weeks that they were looking, as they are planning expanding potentially to 2 or 3 teams. Now, they're only going to expand to 2-car team in the 2022 season. So, I believe that there are a few drivers that have been in the Kansas City. You've had guys like Matt Benedetto, John Hunter Nemechek, Brandon Jones have been in rumblings, Ty Dillon's been in the rumblings. But I think that the driver of the 45 is going to be a driver that's currently driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. That is going to be Harrison Burton. Now, Harrison Burton is making his NASCAR Cup Series debut this week, again at Talladega, as the first driver to be born after 2000. Harrison Burton, I think, is a very, very talented driver. He's been teamed up this year with Jason Ratcliffe. Last year, he scored 4 victories in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's a very, very awesome driver. He's had a pretty consistent year so far this year, and someone I think long-term could potentially one day be a NASCAR Cup Series champion. Yes, his time in tenure in trucks was not as great as we thought it could have been, but Harrison Burton is a very, very awesome driver, and I think that he is going to be the driver that is selected as of right now that I think is going to go to 23XI Racing and drive the second 23XI car, as they would like to eventually be a super team with how much talent Harrison Burton has behind him. I think that Harrison Burton is officially going to become the driver of the 45 car for 23XI Racing, become the second driver for that team. Up next, driving the number 47 car for JG Dougherty Racing is going to be Ricky Senhouse Jr. Now, there have been rumors and rumblings that Ricky Senhouse Jr.'s contract is unknown, and it's believed that Ricky Senhouse Jr. his contract does end at the end of the 2021 season. But JG Dougherty this year has taken major steps forward. Now, he eventually maybe end up going to Stewart-Haas Racing. There's been rumors that that could end up happening, but I don't expect any changes going forward. Now, JG Dougherty is going to end up dropping to a one-team operation in the 2022 season, as they're not going to have enough funding to fund a second car for that upcoming season. So I think that in 2022, that he's going to remain with the team and going to drive the 47. That Ricky Senhouse Jr. is going to remain driving the 47 car for the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports, there's going to be no changes here. That is going to go to Alex Bowman. Now, Alex Bowman, once again, like a lot of drivers I've talked about, he is going to be a free agent at the end of this year. But there have been rumors as soon as last week, after he won at Richmond, and Jeff Andrews brought this up for Hendrick Motorsports, that they're in the middle of contract negotiations with Alex Bowman. I expect Alex Bowman to at least return Hendrick Motorsports throughout the LA contract, which ends at the end of 2023. They've said they've been committed to Alex Bowman, so I do not expect any changes for the 48 car. Alex Bowman is going to be driving the number 48 car in 2022, in my honest opinion. Up next, driving the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing in 2022 is going to be, unfortunately, Cody Ware. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be very, very frustrated with me on this one, because we've seen how Cody Ware kind of has not been that great behind the wheel, and he's had some major incidents, including the last couple weeks, with even people in his team, and might be some mental issues that have been going on with that front. That being said, as he is the son of Rick Ware Racing and the son of Rick Ware, the owner, I expect Cody Ware to come back full-time and drive the 51. Unfortunately, I don't expect any changes for Rick Ware Racing in the 2022 season. Up next, the driver that will be driving the 52 car in 2022. This will be the same driver that we've seen all year in this team. It is going to be Josh Bilicki. I actually think Josh Bilicki is a very, very talented driver. He's just not in a very fast car. If you gave him a really top-tier equipment, he would do very, very well. But I think Josh Bilicki is going to come back to Breaker Racing 2022 and do the best he can with his equipment and get really what he can out of the equipment and try to run up front. I think Josh Bilicki comes back to the 52 car for Rick Ware Racing. Up next, driving the 53 car full-time in 2022. This one is going to be an uncharted car like Joey Gase's, but the driver of the 53 is going to be James Davison. Now, James Davison this year has been driving for Ricker Racing for 26 races this year, including some upcoming races this year. He's not running at Talladega this weekend, but he is running 26 races in the 2021 season. I expect that to be upgraded as James Davison has had some decent performances with the Ricker Racing equipment, all things considered. He's been getting out of the way usually. He's not been a public nuisance. I think that James Davison comes back and drives a 53 car full-time in the 2022 season. Up next, driving a 66 car for NBM Motorsports is going to be Timmy Hill. There's going to be no changes with this one. Timmy Hill's been with the NBM Motorsports camp since around 2014, 2015. So he's been with NBM for a very, very long time. I don't expect any changes for this team. They are not going to run the full season in 2022, though. They're going to run probably about half the season because they're not going to be able to run without a charter. If the Pro Invitational was to come back, they may be able to run the full year. But with the likely being that the Pro Invitational is not going to come back in 2022, I expect that team to not run full-time, especially since they're not going to be able to acquire a charter. I expect Timmy Hill to come back with the CMO. He's been really solid with the team, especially in Xfinity. And I think that Timmy Hill will drive the 66 car for NBM Motorsports in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 77 car. Now, we talked about that JTG Dougherty is going to be going back to one car. That being the number 37 is going to be letting Ryan Preece go, and Ryan Preece is not going to be returning to JT Dougherty, in my honest opinion. So in that matter, I think that he is actually going to move over to the number 77 car and take over the second Spire Motorsports car and drive that number 77 car. Now, the reason I have this is because Ryan Preece has been with the Chevy camp for quite some time. Now, there have potentially been rumors that he could go over, maybe to the Xfinity Series and drive for Senhouse Racing, maybe to Senhouse Racing and drive that 10 car if Aragon Roll's contract deals don't really go through. But I think that Ryan Preece is going to end up taking over the 77 car. I just think that it makes a lot of sense. Ryan Preece, of course, can really help that team going forward. And this crew chief can work with one driver compared to multiple drivers that he's had, mainly Justin Haley, but he'll be able to work on one driver. I think that there will be a change here, and I think Ryan Preece is going to drive the 77 car in the 2022 season. Up next, the driver that will be driving the number 78 car, once again, pretty much the whole entire year, is going to be BJ McLeod. BJ McLeod is the owner-driver of this race team. I don't expect any changes going forward with this going forward. I think that BJ McLeod will return to this team, and they're not going to run very fast. They might get a little better the second year. They'll probably be where Go Fast Racing was last year. I think BJ McLeod will drive the 78 car in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the number 96 car for Gone Brothers Racing. There's only going to be one driver this year, and they are not going to run full-time in the 2022 season. I think they're going to run about the same as this year. Actually, I think they're going to increase around 15 to 18 races. They're going to increase their inventory of how many races they're going to run. They're going to try to eventually build back to full season. They're not going to run full-time in the 2022 season. But I think the driver that's going to drive this 96 car in those specific races is actually going to be Brandon Jones. Now, Brandon Jones, I know a lot of people are not going to agree with him on this one. Brandon Jones has been due to potentially go up to the Cup Series. It's inevitable that Brandon Jones at some point is going to go up to the Cup Series here in the next couple years. I think that he's going to run part-time in the 22 season with Gone Brothers and get a feel for the Cup Series cars with the next-gen cars and get a good feel. And he'll drive part-time for the number 96 for Gone Brothers Racing in the 2022 season. And finally, we're going to talk about Trackhouse Racing and the number 99 camp. Now, one thing very interesting to note is that Trackhouse Racing number 99 team does not have a charter for the 2022 season. I think that they are going to acquire one of the three charters that Spire Motorsports has and buy it outright. So who's going to drive the number 99 for Trackhouse Racing? It's going to be the same driver that's been driving for them this year, Daniel Suarez. They have been surprisingly pretty good so far this year. They're a little outside the top 20 points. I think they're 22nd or 23rd in the standings. But Daniel Suarez has had some pretty strong performances with the Trackhouse team. They've been solid at times. They almost won Bristol Dirt. They were up front in that race, and they've had some solid performances going forward. So I expect that they're going to get better as time goes on. They're going to tighten their group with RCR, and Daniel Suarez is going to come back and drive the number 99 for Trackhouse Racing in the 2022 season. So, those are my first official 2022 silly season predictions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Links are below. That and combo your silly season predictions down in the comments below. How accurate do you think my silly season predictions are? Do you think I'm way off in my silly season predictions? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like so YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. Do that, I would greatly and truly appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.